Welcome to Wild Her Wisdom, the podcast where sassy meets savvy. Join Shelley and Amy as they dive into the heart of womanhood, blending inspiration, laughter, and authentic conversations. In each episode, they celebrate the wild and wise woman in you, exploring everything from personal growth and self-care to career and relationships. So whether you're looking for a spark of joy, a dose of empowerment, or a good laugh, you're in the right place. Let's get started on today's journey into Wild Her Wisdom.
Welcome back to Wild Her Wisdom. Today, we are so honored and excited to have a special guest who's here to empower and educate us. We love education here. She's the holistic health coach, founder of the Canadian Perimenopause Menopause Support Group, and an advocate for balanced approach to women's health. Please welcome Jessica Erlandson Van Remmen. Jessica, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here.
So glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. You guys are great. I love your show.
Oh, thank you. Well, I told you ahead of time I love your name because my daughter's name is Jessica. So I immediately knew I was going to like you a lot.
Aw. Yeah, we do seem to have something in common. There's a certain spark with the Jessicas.
Yeah. I've never met an uncool Jessica. Let me just say that.
Yeah, same here.
I've never met a Jessica I didn't like.
Exactly.
We're on a good start.
So let's start from the beginning. What was your childhood like growing up in Canada, and how did your upbringing shape your interest in holistic health?
Yeah, I have a really weird alternative story because my dad's a jazz musician and my mom was a hippie and very alternative minded, and even founded a university that was self-starters, that was all based on self-directed learning in the 70s.
Wow.
Without a high school education. She only had a grade 9 education. But they were really into learning and growing and spirituality. And I was conceived at a Maharishi yogi meditation retreat. Yeah. So
you have a great story.
Yes, it's very interesting. My mom was really open, obviously, because I know how I was conceived. I was a really wanted baby, and they really tried to get pregnant, and I was like a gift for them that they really, really wanted to have. I was supposed to be a boy though, but other than that, it was a dream come true. And so I think for me and my family, whenever something went wrong, there was a sense of curiosity, like, what is it? What is it? How does it work? Like, I remember my parents talking about AIDS before they knew what it was, because as musicians, we had lots of people coming through and lots of friends from all over the place. And Toronto's pretty close to New York. And so we were talking about that at the table. And I remember being like, it's really like they were afraid because everybody was, but they were also really curious. Like, what could this be? How could this be happening? What might happen? How will people manage? And I think that informed me. And like, so when something went wrong, it was kind of like, why? Why is this happening? Is there something that you can do? Maybe you can learn more. So go to the library, get out some books. And then I developed my own chronic inflammation condition in my 30s that just would not heal. And that got me really going, okay, I have to look at this from the holistic perspective. And I started doing alternative treatments with many, almost you name it, I've tried it. And that led me to yoga and more meditation. And then I did teacher training. And then I realized I didn't want to teach exercise. So I went for the yoga therapy certification, which is more along the lines of identifying what a specific issue is, and then what kind of yoga, including, lifestyle, diet, exercise, and even for me, I'll help people with supplements as well. At least as far as guiding them, like what to avoid based on their condition, because I have the anatomy and physiology, pathologies, and psychology at the university level. So I'm kind of like a really well-rounded, and I always sneak music in there too. There's a lot of listening that goes on with the people that I help. And even the way that I teach music lessons, I'm still teaching music lessons. It's become more of a therapeutic approach. I'm helping a senior citizen right now learn songwriting because it's really good for her cognitive function.
Oh, yeah.
And she's really enjoying it and doing and writing some beautiful stuff, like just gorgeous. So I'm just bringing all of my gifts to the table.
Yeah.
Love it. So well rounded. I love,
Mhm.
that you have all of these different skills. I am a yoga lover. I, started doing yoga in my 30s, I think, and I really enjoy Bikram. I have a hot yoga tent at home. And
Nice.
for me, it's amazing how um, healing and challenging yoga can be, because I've come from like a
Mhm.
running background, and, all of these like really hard pounding sports. I thought yoga, this is going to be easy peasy. No, it's not. And I have the flexibility of like a matchstick. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
yoga is
it's
challenging.
interesting. Yeah, I have people say that to me. They'll say, I can't do yoga because I'm too big, or because I'm not flexible,
Uh-huh.
and or because I'm sick. And you can do the yoga that I teach and the yoga that I share, because it's more about feeling what's happening in the body as you move
Mhm.
through whatever position. I like restorative. Have you guys heard of that?
Mhm,
Restorative yoga?
mhm.
You
Mhm.
basically
Yep.
wrap yourself up in pillows and blankets and relax. That's kind of
Yeah.
more my jam.
Nice.
Yeah.
Although I do like exercise. Like I mean, I like the benefits of exercise. Let's clarify that.
Yeah. 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 Not everybody's jumping up to exercise, but the benefits of it and how you feel. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But so I combine weight training, like in more of a traditional just picking up the heavy stuff, because it's really good for perimenopause and menopause. And then the yoga stuff, it balances that out. I don't get as stiff and sore as I might if I wasn't having that as a regular part of my routine.
Hmm.
And then it's really more about the mind stuff, hey, right? Like you're in a posture and
Yes.
you're holding your arm up, and then your mind says you can't do that, and then you do it anyway. And I'm like, well, who
Right.
is right?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
my mind, because I just held
Yeah.
my arm up.
Right.
That's what I
Exactly.
like. Yeah.
Yeah. I do love the well-roundedness, and you mentioned menopause, perimenopause, and that is something that I want to like really dig into with you, and knowing that the group that you had started and kind of the history and all of the education that you're bringing about. So, and you had mentioned that you weren't initially in like some of the information that we had read in the group that you have started. You had mentioned that you weren't initially educated about perimenopause, and I feel like that is widespread. Um, so when did you first become aware that you wanted to learn more about it?
Well, when I was sick,
Hmm.
in menopause,
Yeah.
why is this happening? And I was very blessed. I have two female doctors, one who's a general practitioner and one who's a functional medicine doctor. So she looks a little bit deeper.
Hmm.
And they are really good about working together, at least not stepping on each other's toes. They have their areas of expertise and they allow each other. And they're always telling me that the other doctor is a great doctor. So I was in really good hands, but I
Yeah.
still ended up like high estrogen. Well, now I know that's what it was. And like sleep disruption and really bad
Hmm.
anxiety and having trouble functioning and lots of like weird depressive things that have never been an issue for me. I mean, I've had chronic low grade depression. It's kind of like Eeyore, Oh, if
Yeah.
I have that, you know, that's not remarkable. And it didn't stop me from doing stuff, to having
Uh-huh.
thoughts like, maybe I don't really want to live anymore. What?
Hmm.
Like, who said that? I love what I
Right.
do with life. I have grown kids, I have grandkids, I have a husband I adore, I have pets and clients that I love. Where is that coming from? So, luckily, because I have these doctors, I went right back to the doctors and said, what's going on? And I was told this happens a lot for women in perimenopause and menopause, where they just suddenly get more anxious. And luckily, I'm no longer resistant to trying medication.
Hmm.
I tried some medication that really made a big difference and we had to tweak it, but it made me go, my friends didn't want to talk about perimenopause.
Hmm.
And I think that it may be a denial factor there, or maybe just a powerlessness that they didn't want to address, or maybe it's just scary in some way, or they hadn't been officially diagnosed of having a doctor say, yes, you are in perimenopause. And so I started joining all these groups and getting kicked out.
I love your energy, girl.
Because I just talk about what I do all the time, right? This is
Yep.
what I'm trying. This is what I've done. This is what I could help you with that, and you're not allowed to do that, right? Because that's self-promotion. And
Hmm.
and the other part was really irritating. There's so much information that's UK and US based, and our healthcare system is actually quite different.
Mhm.
And what we
Hmm.
can get is quite different. So I felt, you know, inclined to just start a group. And I just started it impulsively, like I do most things. And
Mm-hmm.
I invited the chicks that I knew who probably might be in perimenopause, and that the ones that wanted to talk about it joined. And we started talking about it together. And they started inviting other people.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing I knew was 100 people in the group. And so we had a little powwow.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to keep it just us? Right? Because just us meant, there's no fighting. We were all very supportive. We don't talk about COVID or vaccines or politics.
Mm-hmm.
And we that subject of supporting each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the consensus was there are so many women probably out there that need that kind of help.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're willing to put up with the negative feedback and the difficulties from the people that don't really understand, what I think happens a lot is they don't understand what support looks like.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone is in the group, they'll just be basically crapping on other people because they
Mm-hmm.
don't really understand the difference between saying this is what worked for me and saying you should do this.
Right.
Mhm.
There is a
So
difference.
Yeah.
there's a big difference. And it feels, especially for someone who's been suffering and maybe they just opened up, no one will
Yep.
hear me. I'm going to tell you guys everything.
Yep.
And then there's no support there. So I just turfed them out, right? We got a little
Yeah.
bit, I have a lady who's a little bit gung ho about making sure that everybody's legit and Canadian. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
little hard to get into the group. And sometimes she does call some people that maybe could benefit from being in the group.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it also keeps out all the people that really are there for the wrong reason, or they're not
Right.
an actual person, they're a fake profile, or they're a bot, or
Mhm.
those kind of things. So we
Yeah.
monitor really closely. And I think yesterday it was a 8,037 or something.
Wow.
Yeah. You've got it quite large. I know
Yeah.
as I mean, even though I am not Canadian, I have been allowed into the group,
Because
thankfully. So there is a
Mhm.
lot, yes, there is a lot of excellent information in there for sure.
One
yeah,
of the
we've
things
kind
that
of
you,
really
oh,
been careful about that, trying to make sure that the stuff is like good information. And I'm the
Yes.
one that's posting all the stuff into the file section. There's a ton of good stuff in there, and anything that doesn't seem quite right, we get rid of.
Yeah.
one of the things that you said, Jessica, reminded me of one of the first like big lessons I learned from Amy. I don't even know if she knows this, but we were
Oh,
in some training together, and she said, "Don't should on yourself and don't should on other people." And I thought, exactly, should is
I love
judgment.
saying that.
Should is judgment, and I always said, let's not say should, like it's judgment. But now it's easy to go, don't should on yourself or don't should on other
Yep.
people.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
Yeah,
both attention.
it's sneaky.
Yeah.
It's a sneaky. It's like I've been studying nonviolent communication. Did you guys ever get into that? I
Yeah.
bought a class off Sounds True, and it's great because it's lots of video and audio and examples of conversations. But it
Mm-hmm.
really made me did it, like should does have that sense of like violence.
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
It's got,
banging you over the
yeah.
head. Shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And I've been accused of being really pro HRT, hormone
Mm-hmm.
replacement therapy. And I'm not, but I am pro, you know, Amy, if you want to try a medication, I think
Mm-hmm.
that you need to go do that because
Right.
you won't
Explore.
know
Right.
unless you try it.
Right.
And it's not for me to say if that's right or
Right.
wrong. Now, if you tried it and you found that you had a negative reaction, and you could come back to me and say, uh-oh, and there might be other things that I could suggest with adaptogens and more natural things that you could try. But
Mm-hmm.
there's no sense. You have to start where you're at. It's just
Yeah.
like yoga. You have to start where you're at.
Yep.
And I have to meet people where they're at. So if they want to talk to doctors, we start with doctors. If they want to
Yep.
do just lifestyle, we start with lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what
Bioindividuality is
support
a
looks
real
like.
thing. Bioindividuality is a real thing. People are unique
It is.
individuals.
Yes. Yes.
It is. And it
Absolutely.
does change too. I think I'll have people say, "Oh, I was doing this regime and I really dialed it in and it was working for me so great." And then it just stopped working. What's wrong with
Mhm.
me? There's nothing wrong with you.
Right.
Right.
This is how it happens. This is what happens. And now you have a new thing to deal with because something else changed.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
The joys of being a woman. So, Jessica, I read your bio and fantastic, loved it, learned so much. And obviously, you've talked here a little bit that you faced your own challenges with perimenopause. And you talked about in your bio, I read about you having gallbladder surgery. So how did these experiences influence your journey as you were becoming a health coach?
It made me realize, like, I had no idea, but gallbladder surgery seems to be very common for women in their late 40s and 50s.
I don't even know what the gallbladder does.
Yeah.
Well, it's basically a little sac and it just squirts bile so you can digest your food. That's its job.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And it's fine, but if it gets little rocks in it, then it's not squirting properly, and that can be painful. And it's not functional. But when I started looking into, because I'm curious and I go to the library and I take out books and I start asking questions, and I read a whole book about digestion and how common this is. Now, the author of the book, dive into perimenopause, but I did because it was that age range, right? You're
Yep.
talking about somewhere in your 40s and your 50s. So something's going on with your hormones. And the theory that he proposes, that's just part of the general dryness that can happen because bile is like a squishy fluid. And if we're getting dry, then it could possibly congeal. And if it congeals, it could turn into a stone. So, I mean, that theory isn't bad or anything. It's just like, okay, what do you do about that? Right? We can't drown ourselves in water if we're already, I mean, do you guys try and drink enough water? I do, but I don't seem to be able to drink it.
Right.
Because we all hold up our water cups that nobody can see but us.
Right. A gallon a day. That's what I try for. Whew.
Yeah, and that can be hard too. And it made me, when I went into the yoga therapy program at Mount Royal University, I had excellent teachers. I was really excited to learn more about growing and aging well. I had assumed, I suppose, that it would be a big part of the program, and it was not at all. There was like a paragraph about menopause in the section on menstruation.
Oh.
And it said basically some women may have disruptive symptoms during menopause, such as hot flashes. And that was it. I thought, oh, come on, you guys. Like, that can't be right. We're talking half the population. And all of us, as we mature, will go through some kind of transition. Now, they say the stats are 80% are going to go through disruptive symptoms. Okay, but the other 20% are still going to probably have some kind of symptom, even if it isn't disruptive. And maybe it's more disruptive than they think because it's gallstones that might somehow be related to perimenopause, but no one's actually ever looked into that because it's women that are suffering. I don't know.
Oh.
I'm not. But it made me get really curious about this whole thing. And I started really learning about it and looking into it. And I realized, oh man, we are in trouble because all of us are caregivers. We're taking care of ourselves and our families and our loved ones and our senior citizens, and we're volunteering and we're holding down jobs and we're not sleeping and we're anxious all the time and we hate our husbands and we want to run away and hide. We're having trouble at work because we can't sleep and we can't think anymore and you can't remember what's going on. And this is somehow just acceptable.
Yeah.
Say no.
Yeah.
See,
So
no, it's not.
You kind of answered the question that I was going to ask is like during your recovery and like during the surprises of 2020, we shall say. So finding the strength, to kind of take control of what was going on for you and finding, the strength and the courage to be able to learn and share some of this stuff with others. And it sounds like that you were starting to get into that a little bit like this. It's almost like you're outside yourself. Like I'm feeling these things, but the logical piece is saying, why am I feeling these things? So where did some of that strength and courage come to just go through that recovery and courage to say like, enough is enough and let's figure out where we can get this out there. Where'd that come from?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I think maybe it's just the way I'm wired. Hey, like my first relationship wasn't good. And we went to counseling and I stayed in counseling and I just decided that I was a work in progress and I was going to have the best life I possibly could, regardless of circumstances and other people. And I still am in touch with that first boyfriend. We are friends. And then I married someone else and we had a very toxic relationship. And instead of just putting up with it, I went, you know what, this isn't good enough for me. It's not gonna fly. I want to have an incredible life. I want to have a life where I come home to my safe place and I'm nurtured and I'm, going to be able to feel that support. Like, I guess probably it's that element of support. Hey, and that might have been because of the way my parents were very curious. And my mother had a lot of trouble. She was alcoholic, and I joined Al-Anon when I was in my late 30s. So I learned a lot about recovery from being a family member of an alcoholic. And I really applied all of those concepts to perimenopause and menopause. And I do that in the group, but shh, don't tell. We don't talk about recovery, but that's what I'm doing.
I love that. I love
I
that.
do too.
They don't need to know. They don't need to know to get the help and the support they need.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they accidentally meet God somewhere or some higher power along the way, then anyone who works with me does get introduced to that concept really quickly. It's a part of everything that I do. That we're not just accidentally happening to be here. Like you said, women, the journey of women. I kind of feel like maybe we signed up for the harder job in a way so that we could learn more lessons about being in the human body because our bodies are so complex and we make babies and such. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, if you read if you've ever read or you want to, Sacred Contracts is a great book that kind of talks about that.
Yeah, I have a sister-in-law who's a Reiki master and a medium, and I just have I've been incredibly blessed that my husband doesn't have like a faith or something that he follows, but he does all of that stuff just kind of naturally. He got really into Carlos Castaneda, and he's totally weird, and he was into like psychedelics way before it became like a medical kind of idea to use psychedelics.
That's another podcast.
Yeah, I love it.
But it's kind of like, he has a very open mind about all this stuff. And his whole thing is so much like he's very practically fixes things and he changes things and he moves stuff. He's like, if it works, then do it. And it's not up to me to say, whether I believe in your God. I don't care. Whatever you want. As long as you show up for me, we're having fun.
Yeah.
That's what we want. We want to have a good relationship. I finally found someone who wants to have the same things that I want. High quality, good relationship, excellent connection. We're best friends. Sometimes we annoy each other, but tomorrow's a new day.
Yep.
And that's it. All the other stuff doesn't really matter.
I love that.
So, Jessica, one of the things people ask me all the time, I'm 51, and to get really personal here, because I share everything, I'm an open book. So I had a hysterectomy, but I still have my ovaries. So people ask me all the time, are you in menopause? I go, I have no idea. Who's gonna tell me? And you said something earlier about when you were studying, and it said, some women may experience hot flashes. Like that's all I know, right? Well, I have found in my research and in talking with Amy, I'm like, am I perimenopause? I don't know what's going on. I get cold flashes. That's a real thing that they don't tell you about. So I'm like, oh, okay. I am. My friends are over here burning up, and I'm putting on a layer of 50 things just to try to stay warm. And so it is a really confounding thing, because there's not, despite what we may try to say when we're writing about it, when we talk to your doctor, it's not a one size fits all.
No.
So like as my friend's burning up, I'm over here, I'm doing this. So what was the pivotal moment for you when you said, enough is enough? I'm starting this group. I need to let people know there's all of these different things that like, what was your thing?
I think it came from a sense of disappointment. Really?
Yeah.
Really disappointed and alone. And, we were all asked to stay home, and we all thought it was going to be a short-term thing, and it was not a short-term thing. And I started to feel crazy. And I just said, there's got to be other gals, because I just wanted to talk about it at that point. I just wanted to say, like you said about the cold flashes, because I will have that too. And I'll have hot flashes, although everything's kind of balancing out right now. I'm in a, knock on wood, pretty good place. And I'm sure that will change again. But it's that thing where women. This sounds terrible. Do you guys like Planet of the Apes?
I
Planet of
remember
the
it.
Yeah.
Okay. They did the movie with the computer graphics, and they have this thing, apes together are strong. I have a minor in anthropology. Human beings are apes. That's what we
Uh-huh.
are.
Yeah.
And women together are strong. Women
Yeah.
together understand one another. Even if you have a really weird one, like I had one who was like, I have a strange spot on the inside of my nasal passage that's
Mm-hmm.
terribly painful. And I'll wake up in the night. It wakes me up because it's so painful. And I've tried, I've done, nothing
Yeah.
worked. And she just needed to talk about it. Like, am I alone in this? And sure enough, there's someone else that has that weird thing. Maybe it's in their eyelid or it's in their ear or something. It's the same thing. It's just a localized spot of dryness.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden, she doesn't feel crazy anymore. She's not alone. She's got someone else, and they can, become friends if they wanted to on Facebook and, connect in whatever way they feel that they think is fit for them. And it's a healing, you know, uh, women aren't meant to be, well, human beings aren't meant to be left on their own.
Yes. Not meant to isolate. We
Mm,
are supposed
no.
to, yeah, be together.
We're supposed to be together. And, a lot of the Aboriginal cultures would have the red tent where women would congregate
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
when they were menstruating. And I'm
Yep.
sure a lot of that was just, oh my goodness, I need to talk about what's going on right now and
Right.
have no filter because I need
Yep.
to talk about the stuff that's down and dirty. And that's how I feel like my group is. Now, sometimes people will like they'll share blood tests and we're not allowing that because it's like kind of draw the line somewhere, you guys. They don't really, it is a private group and
Yep.
privacy is important to us, but I don't own Facebook.
Right.
Right.
What if they just decide one day that they're just going to make everything anybody ever said on there public?
Yeah.
And there's somebody's blood tests and it's
Mm-hmm.
all
Yep.
under I'm responsible for that.
Yep.
And also, I'm not a doctor. And if we do have doctors or nurses in the group, they're not practicing medicine in the group. So yeah, you got to take your test results somewhere else.
Yeah.
Other than that, like we talk about like, yeah, anything pretty much
Yeah.
woman wise. It's very
And
important, I think.
Mm-hmm.
yep. Well, I am in the hot flash. Like I could sit here, like we are on video, nobody else can see, but I can take off the sweater because it's like it's burning up to me. But give me like 2 minutes and my shoulders will be cold and I'll need to put the sweater back on. It's
My
very
blanket right behind me.
yeah. Yep. When you need it, throw it
Oh,
on for a
thanks.
second, throw it back up. Yeah, that's what you got on. It doesn't, yeah, it's just joyous. So you mentioned earlier how much the group has grown tremendously over the past few years, which is amazing in many, many ways and very, very encouraging. In your opinion, what aspects of that community do you think resonate most with the members?
I think we all felt like we were going crazy at one point or another. That does seem to be a universal thing,
Mhm.
like especially I don't know if when you were given your hysterectomy, if it was kind of given to you in a way like this is going to solve your problem. Like this is just gonna that's it. We're do the hysterectomy and then you won't have women issues anymore.
Right.
But the women that I've talked to that have gone through that, now they just feel completely nuts because they did the thing
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So now they must be crazy. And so when they come into the group and then they get to talk with other women about that, all of a sudden we have a community, we have that support of being in it together. And sometimes, good information would be shared about like cooling sheets or the fans
Yeah.
you can wear around your neck
Yeah,
or
those are legit. Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
I didn't
Yeah. So
realize that my hysterectomy with keeping my ovaries did not solve my psychotic rage once a month.
Mm-hmm.
no,
Mm-hmm.
because you still the hormones are still doing their thing, right?
But I
Yep.
still have that. So I have a teenage daughter, so I cycle with her. And
Yeah,
so
it's so fun.
but I don't have the, menstruation, so I don't know. So I'll say, I am raging. Jessica, my daughter Jessica, are we on our period right now? And she's like, yeah, thank
Yes,
you.
we are,
Because
Mom.
I thought I was
It's like there's stuff on social media where I will see where it says, being in menopause and having a teenage daughter. It's like, oh my God, so sorry for the men in our household, but yes, it's a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah, something. You got to roll with it. That's when people
Yeah.
are like, what can I really do? And it's like, well, you can accept and respect your body. You can ask
Uh-huh.
your body what it needs. If you are doing any kind of yoga, you can ask your body what it needs, and your body will start to tell you more and more of what it needs.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can hire people like me who are expert in that particular area. There are quite a lot of us, actually. You know, you might have to look a little bit harder to find someone, because it's maybe not, you know, at the hospital or with the doctor's office, which I think we probably should be. But um, yeah, I mean, like that's what I say more often than anything else. Don't do this alone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Try
Mhm.
And
and do
listen
it by
to
yourself.
your body. The body
Mhm.
does have a lot of knowledge and it does talk to you.
Yeah,
Well, Scott,
and
you
with more
really
listen, the more it talks.
you really kind of walked us into my next question because you do balance your health coaching with the Western and the Eastern practices. So, you've talked to us a little bit but how do you integrate those philosophies into your coaching? Can you shed some light on that to us?
Well, when I'm working with the client, I always go with what their most troubling symptom is, which you'd be amazed. I can't get them to tell me one thing. Um, so yeah, we tried to work from there, and then I'll have them do a bit of an inventory about like what is important to them. Like I have one friend who really the doctoring, that's all she cares about. She doesn't care about anybody else's opinion. She wants to know about the doctors and what's going on. So she was just diagnosed with a different condition. And so when she was asking me about cardiology, I said, make sure that whoever you see knows what that condition is,
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to inform what kind of treatment you get in the cardiology range. And so I believe that she did that, but maybe she didn't because I'm not a doctor, right?
Right. Yep. And you don't play one on the internet.
No, I don't pretend. I think I probably am a healer, although that word I could be potentially troubling if you were attached to an ego. Like, I heal people. I don't think
Yeah.
that's true. I think
Right.
when I look at someone and I say, okay, honey, if you can't sleep, I'm going to help you with that. Here's a class that I have for that. And they get
Mm-hmm.
into it, and then I coach them through that class. And then after they're about somewhere around day 7, day 10, they start to sleep better. And then they start telling me, oh, you know what? I actually had the patience to finish my paperwork and I remembered where my keys were. It's like so much of
Mm-hmm.
it is just coming back down to that sleep. So
Mm-hmm.
it really try to pick the things that are going to give them their biggest bang for their buck right off the bat. What is the most trouble? And then we have to go whichever route, right? So one client I worked with was pretty much agoraphobic, not diagnosed, but very much not leaving her house. Um, so am I going to start with her to try and get her to go get a job? Like, like we have to start with medicine.
Mhm.
She needed prescriptions. And
Mm-hmm.
so she started with an antidepressant, and then she started to feel a little bit better. And then we started doing a little bit more movement, and she started to feel a little bit better. And then I told her to go back and get another prescription for something else. And she did. And she started to feel a little bit better. And then she got
Yep.
another antidepressant, and then she got a nice government job.
Nice.
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 Right. But if
Yep.
I'd been with her, you have to meditate every day and da da
Right.
da 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 da, and started with that and exercise, she would have been number one, I would have been fired, right? Because she can't
Mm-hmm.
do it. You have to start with the person where they're at. So every person gets their own individualized care plan, and then we meet about every 3 weeks, and they come back and they say, I loved this, I hated that, I couldn't find the energy to do this one, and then I try and find there's always another way to do it,
Yep.
right? What other way can we get around that and get you doing it so that they can start to feel, the benefits? I had one lady call me last week and she was like, I have had a headache like for days and it just doesn't go away. And so I'm getting her to tell me about the headache. And as she's telling me the symptom and how it manifests, she told me that when she exercises, she feels better. So what does that tell you about the headache?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It's got to be the stress response.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It just has to be.
Mhm.
So how's your stress? Oh yeah, stress, 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 stress. Oh, okay.
You're
Okay,
right.
okay. So now we know what you really have to deal with. You have to deal with managing your stress because you can't,
Yeah.
you can't get rid of every problem that we have. Problems are
Right.
there, but we
Yeah.
can adjust how we manage those problems and, come to a better place of understanding ourselves and each other,
Mm-hmm.
which is ultimately, I believe, what yoga is all about.
Mhm.
It's for
Awesome.
everyone, right?
Yeah.
Bettering myself helps everybody around me. So I
Yes.
kind of feel like, that when you help a woman in the family, you help everybody. You help the kids, you help her partner, you help
Absolutely.
her work,
Yeah.
Yes. It
grocery
trickles
store
down.
clerk.
Yeah, the grocery store clerk who doesn't need to feel our rage.
Right.
I
Right.
had to buy the sugar alternative.
It's a legit thing.
I know. I've been there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I started because I'm so in touch with my body, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I've got to
Yep.
do something. And I
Yep.
started put on my shoes, and my husband was like, what's going on? And I was like, rage walk.
Yeah.
He's like, what's that? I said, I'll tell you when I'm back, right?
That's
And it's
right.
just pumping and
Yep.
muttering, going as fast
Yep.
as you can, as far as you can, until you feel like
Mhm.
settling down. Okay, now I can slow down. Now I can slow. Now my thoughts are slowing down. I've
And I
burned
can
off some
talk.
of that. Come back home and then say, I was really angry about this thing, and I know it was a small thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's no point in really talking to you about that, because
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about it. It's not a big deal. But for me at that moment,
Mm-hmm.
I had to do that. And so he started teasing me, and then he'd kind of watch me and be like, honey, do you want to rage walk?
I'm going to use the term rage. As soon as you said that, I was like, ooh, I love that rage
Oh
walk.
yeah.
You know what it is though,
Yeah.
right? Like you
Yeah.
guys
Oh
can
yeah.
Oh,
understand what
yeah.
I'm saying.
I've just never named
Absolutely.
it. I love it.
Yeah, you put a
Rage
name to
walk.
it, know exactly what you're talking about, though. So you had alluded to when you were talking with one of your clients here a minute ago, you alluded to, you would refer to one of your classes. So you have a variety of classes that you do offer around specific concerns. Can you share a bit about how you identify the concerns that you want to put classes into and how you develop those programs?
Well, I just listened to the ladies. And I kept seeing
There you go.
sleep. And I was having problems with it as well. And I
Mm-hmm.
was learning all about sleep. And I was trying to fix my own sleep problem. And then I thought, maybe I could design a therapeutic yoga class. Like, what is the actual issue here? And then I
Mm-hmm.
realized, well, it's habit. Now I'm in the habit of waking up,
Mm-hmm.
no longer in the habit of sleeping. So I have to break a habit.
Mhm.
21 days.
Yep.
21
Yep.
days to build a habit, 21 days to break a habit. If you designed a yoga program that's short and sweet, so it's 30 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but it does all of the things that you need to do, the warm up, a challenge, some contrary motion so that you're moving the body every way, and then
Mm-hmm.
a guided relaxation just to remind the body what it is to be relaxed. And then I also implanted some super secret stuff that's the yogic techniques that are not being fully taken advantage of by Western culture, because they fell under the meditation umbrella, but it goes yoga, meditation,
Mhm.
movement,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
right? They belong
Yep.
together. We just took it apart.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, and then I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to run this class. I'm just going to run this class. If I get one person to pay me to run this class, I'm going to run it. And I got two people. And I ran
Mm-hmm.
the class, and I just used myself as a guinea pig and talking to them about how things were going. And I lost one pretty much right away, because 21 days, a half an hour for yourself. Good God, you guys, women have
Yeah,
the hardest time with that.
we
Yeah.
do. We do.
Makes me so mad.
I
Same.
know.
Same.
Yes, absolutely. Although we preach it, we don't always follow our own advice. We might be those of us that are, more aware of it and more passionate about it, might do it a little bit, quote unquote, better, but
Mhm.
we can always give ourselves more time than we do.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's like, you don't even. I started experimenting. Like, do you have to do it right before bed? No, you don't. You can do it in the middle of the day, and it still
Mhm.
works, because you've implanted this idea that you're going to get deep rest. Part of it
Mhm.
is detaching from sleep, and it fixed my sleep in about 7 days.
Wow.
Oh,
That's
And
awesome.
then and
well,
then that kept going, and I was fine, really good with sleep, until I had another family crisis, and my mother-in-law died, and then back to
yeah,
the stress response.
Mhm.
yep.
I did it again, and it worked again,
Nice.
faster.
Mm,
Nice.
And then I'm running it again right now with a couple of participants, and this time, by the second day, my body just went, oh, that's what we're doing.
Oh, Virginia.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
I've been
It's not that I don't
fortunate.
wake up, but I go back to sleep. So
Yeah.
right.
I'm fortunate, knock on wood, that sleep is my superpower. But I also live by the philosophy that I just spend every day just wearing myself out. Like,
Mhm.
get up at 5, work out, work, schedule my day. So by the time I hit the bed at 8 o'clock, which that's what time I like to go to bed, I am exhausted.
Yeah.
And rinse and repeat. So
Yep.
I know not everybody has that philosophy, but Amy and I talk about this. We're morning people.
Yeah.
She gets up early and does her stuff. I get up early. My husband gets up. People always say, do you work out together? I'm like, we're in the same gym, our home gym, but we're not doing stuff together.
Right.
Like my time to get my exercise in, get my meditation in.
Mindset.
My mindset. Because once I hit the day, like I'm not in control of my day. Like other people control my day, my kids, the people that work for me, and I can't. I was telling somebody today, like I do my hardest workout of the week on Monday morning because I don't want to spend the whole week thinking about, oh, I got to do that super hard workout. I get my ass out of bed on Monday morning and I do the damn thing. And when I'm done, I go, that was terrible.
I hated it, but I feel so much better.
But I'm done and I did it, right? And it's awesome thinking about it. So I digress. Jessica, we could keep you here all day, but I want to be mindful of your time. If you would indulge us for some rapid fire questions before we let you go. There's no wrong answer. Just we want to get to know you. Our listeners want to get to know you. Just whatever comes to your mind. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Favorite yoga pose?
Oh, crocodile.
Favorite health food or supplement?
Magnesium.
Ooh. Most underrated wellness tip?
Get your sleep. People don't think it's important, but yeah, it is.
One book that has deeply influenced you. We are both voracious readers, Shelley and I.
Oh, probably You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay.
Yep.
Back to that one again and again.
I love that. I think I know the answer to this, but your go-to stress release activity?
Rage walk.
Rage walk. Yes.
We are all going to now do rage walks.
Rage walk.
Yeah. Well, if you feel like it, you just go. And everyone will thank you when you come back.
Everyone in your life. That's right. For days, probably. Well, until the next time you need to rage walk, but all right. Well, lastly, where can our listeners find you online and join your wonderful support group?
You can look for CPMS on Facebook and request to join. And you can just say that you heard the podcast and then, the filter will be a little bit lessened perhaps, but I don't monitor my volunteers. They do whatever they're going to do. And I allow them to do that because I'm so grateful they're helping me. I couldn't have a group with over 8,000 women in it without the 3 volunteers that I have. I'm on Instagram as perimenopause support. We have the website as CanadianPerimeno.com. Lots of good free stuff on there and like podcasts we like, and this will end up going on there once it's done, and books that we recommend and all that good stuff. And I'm on Insight Timer as a teacher doing guided meditations. I'm writing stuff specifically for us in perimenopause and menopause.
Awesome. Yeah, I can attest that you do have a lot of good resources on that website too, and in the group. So I want to explore a little bit more even than I did. So it's a lot of good stuff. You're doing a great thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like being a curator, I mean, I am making content, but I'm also just finding things as like, ooh, this one, could be really helpful for somebody, even if it's not necessarily me, right? Or other people. If I hear the same book again and again and again recommended, I'll make sure to check that out and put that onto the website as one of the books that we recommend, because even if I don't particularly love it, it's got good information in it that will help people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope we help some people
about
today.
it.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing your insights and your wisdom and rage walking with us today. Absolutely adored having you on. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, you stunning souls, unfortunately, we've reached the end of another journey together on the Wild Her Wisdom podcast. But don't let the conversation stop here. Keep the inspiration flowing by connecting with us on social media, like our Facebook page, and follow us on Instagram for a dose of empowerment and updates. And for those who just can't get enough, head on over to wildherwisdom.com. There you can connect with us, stay up to date on all our latest adventures, and catch up on episodes you may have missed.
So until next time, keep embracing your wild and exploring your wisdom. Remember, you are capable, you are resilient, and you are amazing. Keep shining.